Okay, so welcome to another episode of Weekly APC. And today we are going to discuss on value engineering and value management in construction projects. And this is one of the very important topic for all the APC aspirants, basically MRICS aspirants, uh, from project management pathway, quantity surveying pathway, and facilities management pathway. So it is very common topic for all these three pathways. And specifically in quantity surveying pathway, it is cross-linked with many competencies, right? So uh, we will be discussing on different topics today. So let's see what is the agenda of today's discussion. Before going into detailed discussion, I hope my voice is audible to all of you. Right? If it is audible, please respond in the chat box. Okay, fine. Thank you for your response. Okay. So today we are almost doing 112th episode of Weekly APC. And we are committed to do it continuously for the uh, for the rest of this year, right? And we will bring on topics which are closely related with APC competencies. Okay, fine. So what are the resources that I have referred to for today's discussion? These are RICS guidance notes, right, which you must go through if you are preparing for MRICS, value management and value engineering, RICS guidance note, and commercial management of construction. So both of these guidance notes covers uh, value engineering. There is another guidance note that is life cycle costing, which you must refer, right? Because life cycle costing is also closely related with value engineering. Okay. And a few of the standards I have followed today. This is one the standard for value management AS4183. So I have taken some reference from there for value management. Okay. So what we are going to discuss today. So it will be a 60 minutes program, right? And in this 60 minutes, I have to cover, as we are going to cover value management and understanding what are the different components, elements of value management. Uh, why this competence is a part of weekly APC, how it is connected with the competencies, right? And how understanding this competency will help you in writing your submissions, as well as it will also help you going forward in your final assessment interview, where it is very common that questions will be asked to you on value engineering, right? Because that is linked with many competencies. I will request the participants to be on mute. Uh, okay, fine. Thank you. Okay. So we'll understand value management and its components, then value engineering process, uh, then life cycle costing, discuss about how it is done, like what are the components of life cycle cost, uh, then a little bit about whole life cycle costing, and then how value engineering is contractually governed in standard forms of contract. Specifically, we will talk about FIDIC forms, how in FIDIC forms this value engineering is governed, right? So this is what we are going to cover today in 60 minutes. Now, as I was talking about, as this topic, value engineering, is connected with so many competencies. So what are those competencies where you will find value engineering as a part of your study checklist? The first one is the commercial management. And if you look into the RICS pathway guide for quantity surveying, where you will get commercial management as one of the technical competencies, right? Then in level 2, you will find applying value engineering process is the part of your knowledge area. It should be the part of your knowledge area for commercial management, right? Because commercial management deals with ensuring profitability. So how a candidate has applied value engineering to ensure profitability in the project or for any commercial decision making, how they have applied value engineering in the project, that can be written in your commercial management competency as a part of your summary of experience, right? When you are writing a summary of experience. Construction technology, that also deals with value engineering process, where reporting on the impact of different design solutions, construction process, and on cost and programs. So that is the part of your level 3, that is where you have to advise on different design solutions. So that is also closely related with value engineering solutions, because value engineering is ideally taken up during the design stage, right? That should be taken up in design stage. You can take it in construction stage, but ideally it should be done in the design stage. It is more impactful and effective when done in the design stage. Then contract practice, we have to understand various contractual mechanisms. So value engineering, how contractually value engineering is governed in the projects, that you have to understand. And that's why we have included the contractual provisions for value engineering at the end of today's session, that we will discuss details. Then sustainability. Value engineering and life cycle costing, very closely related with sustainability, because whenever you are analyzing the value engineering solutions, sustainability is one of the criteria, one of the parameters that should be considered while selecting any value engineering solutions. Even if you go through rating systems, right? Rating systems like LEED or BREEAM, if you look into that, then as a part of your criteria for obtaining those certifications, you need to provide life cycle cost. Right? So sustainability also covers this value engineering and value management. Then maintenance management for facilities management candidates, right? Those who are going from facilities management. In maintenance management, if you look at RICS pathway guide, concept of life cycle, you need to understand concept of life cycle and life cycle costing, and how you implement life cycle plan, right? So when you are managing the maintaining the assets in a facility, how you will select the assets, right? Uh, Based on their energy efficiency or on their life cycle cost, right? Then design economics and cost planning, very important, where you need to understand how life cycle cost is carried out and how a value engineering process is applied in the projects. Then managing projects. This is the competency for project managers, managing projects, where the study checklist says that carrying out life cycle cost, whole life cycle cost exercise, and then contracts. So these are the competencies that that will be covered through this single topic of value engineering, value management, and life cycle costing. Right? Okay. Okay, so let's go straight away into the topic. Like, what is value? First, we have to understand what is value. Value, when we talk about value, value is very synonymous, you can say, with benefits, right? And it is different for different clients and employers. They have different value criteria. So in simple terms, you can say what is the benefit that an employer is getting out of the cost or the resources that they have deployed in the project is value. Value means the benefit out of cost. So you can say benefit is a ratio of the benefit to the cost or the efforts that were required to achieve a work. That is a value. So value can be different for different clients. Say, for example, in a project, in few projects, the aesthetics can be the value criteria for the client. In some projects, the durability can be the value criteria for the client. Sustainability can be the value criteria for the client, right? So need to be understand what value is, because value is different for different people, different, right? Now coming to the value management. So what is this value management all about and how it is connected with value engineering. So there are uh, different definitions and different concepts about value management. Uh, so as you can see in the first definition, it is about maximizing the functional value of the project, right, by considering the value system determined by the client. Okay. In the second definition, also you can see the structural and analytical process to get a best value out of the money. And the third definition is taken from APM, that is value management is proportional to the benefit and requirements of the ratio to cost. So in all the definitions, in all the concepts, the basic principle it is same, like it's about the benefits or the value criteria that is achieved through the implementation of resources or the cost in the project. So best value out of the money is the value management, and value management is a holistic process that start with the very inception of the it starts with the inception of the project, right? So it start much before value engineering, during the strategic definition stage, RIVA stage 0, right? And it's the holistic process that includes value planning, value engineering, and value analysis or value review. So that we will see in the upcoming slides. Okay. So value management is taken up in different levels in a project. Like it will be taken up at the corporate level. Corporate level means portfolio level. So when you are adding value to different projects, it is contributing to the KPI of the organization, right? It is one of the KPI of the organization to add value to the projects. So at the corporate level, you are adding value, and the value management is the part of your KPI at corporate level. How it is achieved? When you are implementing value management at the project level. And in the project level, you have to implement the value management at the product or the service level. So if you look at from the top to bottom, from corporate level to the service level, without achieving your service level of value management, it is not possible to achieve the value management at the project level. And if the employer is not able to achieve value management at the project level, it will not be able to achieve value management at the corporate. So these are interlinked, and the management has to review at every level how this value management is implemented. And that's why there is a concept of value analysis or value review or value analysis as a part of your value management. So that we will see in the upcoming slide. That is the entire value management framework, how it works. So it's a holistic program, holistic plan or holistic management where you will have value planning, value engineering, and value analysis are the part of value management. So sometimes in the assessment panels, it is asked that what is the difference between value management and value engineering, right? And if you look at RICS guidance note, they are saying that value management is a strategical tool or strategic analysis that can be taken much before value engineering process. So yes, it is true, because value management also includes value planning that is taken up in the very initial stage when you are finding uh, different options to enhance your profitability in the project, even if the design is not in place. Through different feasibility options, doing various feasibility analysis, you are trying to maximize the benefit out of the project. The employer is trying to maximize the benefit out of the project. So that happens in the value planning stage, during RIBA 0 stage to 2, that is concept design phase. Within that, the value planning is taken up. So what happens during the value planning stage? Uh, the business case or the client's objectives are understood by the project participants. Generally, during the value planning stage, client is there and their consultant is there. Sometimes the feasibility consultant is there, and our maximum the architect will be there with them. So they will try to understand what is the client's objective. What is the business case talking about? Then identifying the stakeholders and their needs, and then value drivers, and conducting a value planning workshops. So, or gathering the informations, identifying the right stakeholders who will be taking up the entire process of value management happens during the value planning stage. Right. Okay. So here it is also very closely linked with the project management competency, that is design, that is project brief, right? Project brief. So as a part of the project brief, you will understand what are the client's objective as a part of a project brief. Right. So this is also a very important document to understand how value engineering can be implemented based on the project brief, because in project brief, you will get the client's objective. Okay, fine. So after value planning, what happens? Once the concept design is in place, then the detailed design phase will start in the REBA stage 3. So as the detailed design, there will be value engineering workshops. Then the value engineering will start. So value engineering is all about understanding the different measures which can be taken as a part of design consideration to enhance the benefit of the project, or to enhance the functionality of the project at a certain cost, or achieving the same functionality at the reduced cost. So that can also be considered as value engineering. So what we will do, review design solutions against the value drivers. Okay. So there will be different designs, and that will be reviewed, that will be analyzed, explore, uh, apply fast to identify functions and alternatives. This is basically the process of value engineering, function analysis system technique. It's a process of value engineering where you will look at different options where you can apply value engineering, identify different areas where value engineering can be applied, then what alternatives can be done, right? Alternate design or alternate construction methodology that can be adapted to increase the benefit or increase the functionality, right? Then after analyzing the options, then you have to document it and present it to the employer as a part of your uh, value engineering analysis, right? So that happens in the value engineering workshops. Okay. So evaluating alternatives in terms of cost, function, risk, performance, that has to be done. Okay. And in this stage, in this value engineering stage, the life cycle cost comes into picture, life cycle costing. Life cycle costing you will be doing. It is very closely related to value engineering. So for example, if you are changing design, if you are changing the design for the transformers, right? There are different types of transformers available, dry type or oil type transformers, right? So if you are considering the type of the transformer, on the basis of that, there are different factors which has to be changed, like the substations, right? Substations, arrangements of the cabling, that has to be changed for the different types of transformers. So then what you will do, you will find out what is the cost. So cost, not only the cost of procuring the material or the capital cost of that equipment, you will also try to find out what will be the operational and maintenance cost. Operational and maintenance cost of the transformer. So here comes the concept of life cycle costing. When you are doing the costing of an asset or an equipment or a facility, starting from the acquisition till the disposal, the entire cost is life cycle costing. So during the selection, whenever we are doing the value engineering workshop, it is important criteria. Okay. So it is one of the important criteria to understand whose life cycle cost is lower, right? That is one of the important criteria for the value engineering. Then we have value analysis. Value analysis. That is done after the completion of the project. When it is handed over, then you will do the post-project review. Like whatever value engineering is implemented, whether it is aligned with the expectations or not. That will be done in the post-project review, comparing the actuals with the planned. So if it is not going in line with the plan, there will be lessons learned for the upcoming projects, what can be done to improve the functionality. So that is done during the value analysis. Value analysis workshops are also known as value review workshops, reviewing the value. Okay. So this is how the value management framework uh, is all about. Now mapping the value management process with the different stages of the project. You can see here, value planning happens from the very beginning, preparation till the concept design. Then value engineering starts with the design development. In few cases, with the concept design also, you can start your value engineering process, and it goes up to the construction phase. At the later stage of the construction, generally value engineering is not recommended, because if value engineering is implemented at the later stage of the project, the cost of implementation will be very high for the value engineering, generally very high, because by that time all the functions of a facility are interlinked. If you want to change a specific function or change a design of this, the ancillary design also needs to be changed, right? So in the later stage, it is not recommended to use. However, up to certain stage of the construction period, value engineering can be implemented, and that's why value engineering is a part of contract documents as well. And contractors sometimes come up with the value engineering proposals during the construction stage. Okay, then value analysis after handover, practical completion, post-practical completion, there will be the value analysis or value engineering workshops, value review workshops, sorry. Okay, this is about uh, the development of value engineering workshops and who are the project participants during each of the workshops in different stages of the project. So we have taken REBA plan of work 2013. And if you look at it, there are 8 stages starting from stage 0 to 7. Okay? So initially, there is only client-led value management workshops during the strategic definition stage. Then when there is a preparation and brief, the project brief is, and the business case is being developed, then we have a client-led and design team is also there for the value management workshop. Then there will be concept design stage, where design-led designer team will also be there, then develop design and technical design, that the definition stage and design technical design stage. You will have the contractor, sometimes contract in case of design and build type of procurement route, you will have the contractor in the detailed design stage. So they will provide their inputs as in value engineering. Right? In the construction stage, the contractors generally initiate value engineering during the construction stage. Now, as I was saying, that it is very important to understand who are the stakeholders involved in each stage of the value management process. And uh, it is very important to uh, appoint capable and competent stakeholders during the initial stage of the project, because these stakeholders can impact the cost of the project considerably. As you see in the next slide, Client and specialist consultant. Specialist consultant means maybe the feasibility consultant is the specialist consultant. So they are appointed at the initial stage of the project. The project cost spent is very minimal with respect to the budget of the project. Maybe 5% of the project cost is spent. But if they can provide their expertise, their inputs in the project, they can influence the cost. They can significantly impact the cost of the project. So this is taken from RICS guidance note, right? And the purpose of this slide is involving competent project participants and to emphasize on the initial stage of the project, to emphasize on value management workshop during the initial stage of the project to impact the maximize the functionality. So you can see that during the initial stage where there is a specialist consultant, 5% of the project cost, 65% of the cost. Now, when there is a design team comes into place, right? So they will, of course, they will also impact the cost influence when they will take on the value engineering workshops proactively during the design stage. So for the design team, 10%, around 10% of the project cost will go. And the most of the project cost goes behind the contractors for execution, right? Execution of the project. During that stage, also some of the value engineering proposals comes from the contractor. So that can also influence the cost by 10%. But the maximum cost influence can happen during the initial stage of the projects. And that's why it is vital to implement value management or value engineering during the initial stage. Show you. So this is how the implementation of value management and value engineering during the early stage of the project, the impact of change is very high, while the cost of change is very low, right? You are doing brainstorming, finding out different solutions, appointing, and the cost only goes into appointing the specialized consultant. Early stage cost of change is very low, impact of change is very high. But when slowly and slowly we move towards the later stage of the project, the impact of change is low, but the cost for the implementation of that change or the value engineering goes higher, right? So ideally, it should be done during the initial stage of the project, right? Value management workshop. What happens in a value management or value engineering workshops? Through my experience for the last 3 years assessing the panels of RICS, I have seen many case studies written on value management, value engineering, right? Many case studies are there on value engineering. Uh, and candidates also write about that they have implemented value engineering through value engineering workshops, but are not aware of how it is taken up, what happens in the value engineering workshops. So ideally speaking, what generally happens, there is a pre-workshop before initiating the value engineering. Pre-workshop means it's a value planning stage. You can think it as a value planning stage, pre-workshop, before going into value engineering. You will identify the options for the value engineering. You will identify the stakeholders who will be involved in the value engineering process. You will understand the value criteria of the client in the pre-workshop, right? Then the workshop phase starts where you will gather informations. Okay. I will answer to the questions in the chat box at the end of this session, right? Okay. So I have a couple of questions in the chat box. I will address that at the end, right? Then during the workshop phase, we have information phase, function analysis phase. Function analysis phase means once you gather the information, like these are the areas where the value engineering can be implemented. Then you have function analysis phase, where you are trying to understand what is the functionality, how it is adding to the value to the client. What is the function of that particular equipment or particular product, right? Then there is the creative phase. Creative phase means the workshop participants are trying to find out alternatives to a particular design or particular material or particular equipment, right? Then comes the judgment phase. The judgment phase, the analysis is done, and here the surveyors, quantity surveyors, play a very important role in the judgment phase when they will provide their analysis based on life cycle cost, based on your time impact, based on impact on the sustainability, health and safety aspects, durability, constructability aspects. So that will be taken up during the judgment phase, right? Now it is going towards the finalization, where in the development phase, the value management workshop will close out and the detailed report is prepared by selecting the most feasible value engineering solution. Right? Post workshop, the document will be submitted to the client for their approval. Post study is about value analysis or value review. Value review means whether this workshop or the implementation is as per the expectations or not. If anything went wrong, then that will be the part of your lessons learned to be implemented in the upcoming projects. This we have already discussed about value engineering, difference between value engineering and value management. I hope the entire discussion you have understood about this. So we have discussed value engineering process. This is also taken from RICS guidance note, right? How this value engineering process works. So firstly, understanding the problem basically, you can say understanding the areas where the value engineering should be implemented in the project, right? Identifying the areas. So that is the first step of the value engineering. The next is identifying different solutions. Solutions may be related to design, related to construction methodology, related to procurement from the suppliers by having alternate suppliers, alternate makes, right? Uh, Having a different contractual provision in place maybe can also help. Evaluating different solutions. Evaluating different solution based on the different parameters like cost, time, quality, durability, constructability, sustainability. Will evaluate the different solution. Develop the short list option in the more details, and then finally identify the best solution and make a recommendation. So this is how the value engineering process moves. But how we can identify, like in the first stage, how we can identify where we can implement the value engineering. So for that, this concept works very well in all the part of anywhere actually in the Pareto's law. That is 80-20 ratio. It works well in the construction sector as well. You can see that 80% of the cost goes into 20% of the items, right? So there are few items which that generally consumes the maximum of the project cost, like star items, you can say, reinforcement steel, structural items, right? So they consume maximum of the project. Secondly, if you look at the energy consumption, HVAC, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, is such a function which consumes 80% of the energy of the building, right? And most of the cost during the operation and maintenance stage goes into HVAC system, right? So identifying those high cost areas in the list of items, that can be the first approach where you can go with the value engineering. Secondly, understanding the functions, means doing the function analysis of each of the items and understanding which functions are redundant which functions are redundant that can be omitted and can be changed with a different alternative, right? More cost-effective alternative, having higher functionality. So that can also be done. So identification starts with identifying the items which are having high cost, not only initial cost of acquisition, but also high life cycle cost. In most of the project which I have seen, the value engineering is done for HVAC systems, for transformers, digital generators, right? Uh, because they have high life cycle cost, right? They consume a lot of cost for the project. Okay, so these are the areas where it can be done. Cost which substantially exceeds initial estimate. Sometimes there will be specific items which are not coming into as per the initial estimates. There also we can go for value engineering specific to that items. Complex items that provide unnecessary functions, which are expensive materials, difficult constructions. There will be few items which have a difficult construction or fabrication procedures can be changed to improve the functionality. Right? If you were reducing the timeline by improving the by changing the material, right? Improving the timeline means you are shortening the timeline by having a better material, and better construction methodology. That is also part of value engineering because time equals to cost. Reducing the timeline is all about reducing the cost of the project. Items which appears too costly, built, maintain, and both, and designs which has been revised or become very complex. So these are the areas where we can identify and implement value engineering proactively. Evaluating different solutions. These are some of the criteria where the evaluation is done. Generally, it is done on the scoring method. Weighted scores can be done. As we have seen in many case studies, candidates generally provide quantitative analysis by doing a scoring, weighted scoring method. Right? So how much this value engineering is contributing to this, all these criteria can be done during the evaluation phase. Now we will come to life cycle costing, right? Life cycle cost. So as you can see, whenever we are finding out the cost required for a value engineering, not only the cost of acquisition is considered, but ideally the life cycle cost should be considered wherever it is applicable, right? So life cycle cost should be considered. So what is this life cycle cost all about? Life cycle cost includes the cost from the construction stage to the end of life of that particular equipment or material. So construction cost, renewal cost, operations cost, maintenance cost, and end of life cost. That is the cost of disposal. Right? So entire cost throughout the life cycle of that equipment is the life cycle costing. There is another concept of whole life cycle costing where we take non-construction cost, like the cost of acquisition of the land as a part of the whole life cycle cost. Income means after the completion of project, whatever incomes start flowing in for the employer, that is taken here as a part of life cycle cost. And externalities are all those costs which are not attributable to the to employer or to the contractor, but to the external parties, right? Maybe government agencies, okay, for that project. So these are the externalities. There can be questions in the panel, like what is difference between these two, whole life cycle cost, life cycle cost. So you must be aware of it. Like whole life cycle cost is something in addition to life cycle cost, that is non-construction cost, externalities, and the incomes of the client, right? So it is the whole life cycle cost is about overall benefit to the employer beyond construction, beyond construction. Whereas life cycle costing is up to the construction. Okay. So life cycle cost, let's understand how it works, why it is important to do life cycle costing. Sometimes you will see that there are some equipments which are costly as a part of their capital expenditures, means cost of acquisition. Cost of acquisition is higher than their alternatives. But if you look at the operation and maintenance cost, that is relatively lower. So it is not always true that uh, the equipments with the lower acquisition cost will be beneficial or will not be beneficial. So for justifying that, life cycle cost means detailed life cycle cost should be taken. Here we are doing a study of VRFs with the split air conditioners. So we will look at it, how the energy consumption differs and how it impacts the cost throughout the life cycle of this project, right? Now, this VRFs and the splits, generally known as CRFs here, these are installed in this building, right? These are supposed to be installed, and then there is a life cycle analysis that is taken up. So it includes the cost of acquisition and cost of operations, right? So this is basically the split, and this is the VRF. So in CRF equipment, the initial cost is cost of means purchasing that equipment is 7,20,000, whereas the VRF equipment is much higher than that. Then there are ancillary works which needs to be done for its functionality to happen, right? Like ducting, piping, or diffusers that you have to do, right? So adding up entire cost for the CRF, it is 23,82,000, and for VRF it is 29,28,000. So you can see that the cost for the VRFs, cost of acquisition for the VRFs is higher than that of the CRF, right? So if we decide on the basis of the initial purchase or initial cost of acquisition of that equipment, this VRF should be ruled out. It should be cancelled out, right? And CRF will be selected. But if we look at the operations cost, and we are taking 12 hours of operations. VRF, the concept of VRF is that it it's loading, or it changes the refrigerant flow according to the number of occupants in the rooms. Like loading differs for the different occupation in the rooms. It's a variable refrigerant flow, right? VRFs. So here you can see that VRF is operating under different loading conditions. And as the loading goes down, the kilowatt hours also goes down. So similarly, we can see for VRF, this is the kilowatt hour. And for CRF, this is the kilowatt. So for CRF, the kilowatt hour consumption is very high. When we are going for the 12 hours, the operating cost is like this. For VRF is 208 and CRF is 287. So for 12 hours of operation, the operating cost for CRF is higher. And when we go for scenario 2, where we are considering 24 hours of operations, then it is even higher, more higher. So what we can see, why two scenarios are taken? This is basically called sensitivity analysis. Means we are taking different scenarios to understand how the cost is getting impacted in different scenarios. How sensitive it is, how the cost is sensitive according to the difference in the operation. That is sensitivity analysis. right? And it's a very important part of life cycle costing, doing sensitivity analysis, right? It's very simple. What I'm showing on the screen is is the simplest form of life cycle cost, simplest form. It is much more complicated when uh, you see in actuals, right? When it is given for any equipment, there are many different considerations. In the second example, I will show you a bit more complex version of this life cycle costing, right? So you can see as the scenario is changing, the operating cost goes even higher, difference goes even higher, right? So for 12 hours of operations, the VRF system is 7 to 15% lower compared to CRF, although the initial cost was higher for VRF, right? And if it is a 12-hour operation, it is 7 to 15% lower. If it is 24, then it is even lower, 10 to 18%. So more hours of operation, VRF is proving to be more cost effective, means cost effective in terms of life cycle cost, right? Okay. So what is the step-by-step process of carrying out a life cycle costing? What we will do in the first step? First step, firstly, identifying what will be the period of study. For how many, what is the life of that particular equipment? Firstly, we have to understand, and that is the study period. Here we have taken 30 years as the study period, right? And why are we doing the LCC life cycle costing, right? Maybe we are choosing between the HVAC system, maybe we are choosing a digital generator, maybe we are choosing a transformer. So why we are doing it? Identifying the cost boundaries. So what are the different components that we are going to consider as a part of our analysis? Here, construction, cost of maintenance, cost of replacement, cost of energy, cost of disposal. So these are the cost boundaries, or you can say cost elements that are considered. Okay. Second step is identifying cost components, right? That is what we have seen here. Okay. And there are something called discount rate, okay, and net present value. To understand what will be the value of the expenditure going forward in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, up to the 30th year, right? What we will be spending, because the cost today will not be the same going forward in this 15, 20 years, right? It will change because the currency devaluates. So that's why we have to take discounting rate. Discounting rate is the rate of devaluation of the currency, right? And here it is taken 5%. For discounting rate also sensitivity analysis is done because it is not fixed. It may be 5%, it may be 7%, it may be 8%. So in complex life cycle costing, the sensitivity analysis is done for discounting rate also. It is done for inflation rate also. So there will be different net present value coming for different sensitivities, different change in percentages. So that actually contributes to more complexity of this life cycle costing, right? So the different sensitivity analysis is done. Discounting rate, the net present value, and we're trying to find out what will be the cost. Okay. So initial cost for both the systems is given here. Annual energy cost is given. Annual maintenance cost is given. Replacement after 15 years and disposal value. So these are given in context to present cost. Now this has to be extrapolated in terms of net present value for 30 years, right? For 30 years. So what we have considered today as 6 lakhs may not be the 6 lakh going forward in the second or third year. So that's why we have to take that net present value, right? Net present value, taking the discounting rate at 5%. Similarly, NPV for the maintenance cost should be taken, net present value of the maintenance cost, right? Replacement cost and residual value. Okay. So when we consider this, the system B is more cheaper than the system A, whereas uh, we have seen the cost of acquisition of system B was higher, right? But overall, the NPV of the life cycle cost is coming lower, right? So sensitivity analysis is done on price escalation, discounting rate, or equipment life. Sometimes we also consider equipment life as 30 years or maybe 35 years or 40 years, right? So that will also give different results. Step 6 about the presenting the results to the client, right? Presenting the results to the client. There is a specific way of means presenting a life cycle cost. I'm not going into it. A comparative table and charts, key assumptions, limitations, recommendations will be presented to the client, right? The rationals means justification behind your recommendations. Then value engineering as a part of contract procedures. Okay. For that, we have taken reference of FIDIC 1999 and 2017, and it is well described under clause 13.2, that is value engineering clause. So if we look at and now it is linked with contract practice, right? With your contract practice competency. Now, in FIDIC, it is said that if the contractor at any time submits to the engineer a written proposal which can accelerate the completion, reduce the cost to the employer of executing, maintaining, and operating the works, right? Improve efficiency or value to the employer, or otherwise to be the benefit of the employer, then it will be considered as the value engineering. It will be considered as the value engineering, and it will be governed through variation procedure that is given under 13.3. Now, what is reflected on the screen is taken from 1999, where you can see that there is a sharing of the savings, like half 50%, right, between the employer and the contractor. If the contractor comes up with some value engineering proposals, and if really saves the cost for the employer, then the savings can be divided between both the parties. But in 2017, there is no such 50% or segregation of the profit is mentioned specifically as a percentage. It is said that uh, if employer wants, they can include that as a part of their variation instruction. Where they're instructing for the variation to do the value engineering, they can include that as a part, like how much they are going to share the savings that will arise as a result of value engineering process. Unlike in 1999, where there is specific percentage mentioned, right? And in 2017, the variation instruction has to be given by the employer. That is very clearly mentioned, which is something new for 2017. It is not here in 1999. Okay, contractual mechanism and implementation of value engineering proposals. So if we want value engineering to be the part of value engineering to be implemented, that there should be contractual provisions in the contract. Okay. Value engineering is implemented through change or variation process, and the change proposal to contain the following informations. Whatever the change proposals coming from the contractor, that should come with the description of the difference between existing contract requirement and the proposed change, and how it is going to benefit the employer. The listing and analysis of each contractual requirement, which must be changed if value engineering cost proposal, this is actually value engineering cost proposal, is accepted, plus any recommendations the contractor may have for changing the specifications. Right. Then detailed cost estimate has to be submitted. The contractor must account for the estimated development and implementation cost, including any cost attributable to the subcontractors. So basically, the contractor has to justify that the value engineering cost proposal is of benefit to the client, and it is also contributing to the savings for the employer, right? So that the incentives can be distributed, means shared by the contractor, by the employer. Okay. So this is what we uh, we're discussing today about this value management and value engineering. We will take up a few more examples, maybe going forward in another work or another weekly APC. Because what I have shown you today is the simplest form of life cycle costing. There are much more things to it, but for APC, it is enough. For your MRICS, it is enough. You will be able to write your submissions. You'll be able to handle the questions related to it, like in your final assessment interview. However, there is no end to learning. Of course, we can proceed for learning. Now, if you have, okay, we have a couple of questions in the chat box. Let me see. There is one question. Is value engineering is a part of project finance? Ideally not, because project finance deals with cost control during the post-contract stage of a project, right? Value engineering is ideally implemented in the pre-contract stage. So if it is asked uh, whether value engineering is a post-contract cost control tool, it is no. But yes, it is pre-contract cost control tool, value engineering. So I would say it's not the part of project finance. It's the part of your commercial management. It's the part of your design economics. That's why I have not shown project finance in the competencies mapping where I was mapping with the competencies in the first slide. Okay, is negative variation and reduction in the scope of work be termed as value engineering? It's very simple. Is that reduction in the scope adding value to the project? Is adding value to the project? Is of the it is enhancing the benefit of to the project or of any benefit to the employer? If it is yes, then of course it is value engineering. If you are omitting unnecessary functions from the project, which is enhancing the value to the employer, it is value engineering. As simple as that. Any other questions? Mics are on. If you want to ask anything, you can ask. If you want to get the recorded session of today's discussion, you can join this group. I will be sharing the recorded session on this in this group. We already have around 100 members here in this group. So those who are not the part of this group can join it. We'll be sharing this recorded session within a day or two. How to calculate material price escalation or labor rate escalation? See, material price escalations are generally governed by few contractual provisions. There are some price escalation formulas. If you look at FIDI forms of contract, specifically in 1999, you will get a indices-based price escalation formula, right? So there are few coefficient, there are indices related to labor, equipments, which needs to be calculated to find out the cost of escalation. Right. It's a subjective matter, right? You can look into 1999 escalation clause, right? Price escalation clause. You'll get a fair idea about it. We have covered that as a part of our contract practice, calculating the material price escalation or labor price fluctuations. Okay, any other questions, or else we will conclude today? Anything that is coming to your mind, you can ask. Anything beyond these competencies also, you can ask.
Hello.
Yes, please.
I need to know any example for employer other risk.
Sorry, once again, please come.
I need to know example for employer other risks.
Employer other risk.
Yes.
Okay, employer other risk. Say, for example, the project is delayed. Project is delayed, and it is leading to your revenue losses per day. It's other risk, employer other risk. It is not related to construction, but in the delay, it is impacting the employer other risk. It is. It's a part of your risk contingencies as per NRM. I think you are referring to that, right?
Yes, yes.
Construction risk,
We have design development risk,
development, yes. Change
construction
risk,
risk,
change risk,
employer
construction risk,
risk.
employer other risk. So this is what
Yes.
is employer other risk. Even you follow the
Yeah.
NRM, that is there. It is there. It is there. The example is there.
Mention there.
Yes. What is
Okay.
difference between value engineering and value management? Can you brief with some examples? That is what we were discussing throughout this 1 hour. Anyways, value management is the entire process of value planning, value engineering, and value analysis, Anish. Right? It's a value engineering is a subset of value management. Value management starts much before value engineering. Value engineering comes with design. When design is in place, you can go with value engineering. But before design, you can start value management process with value planning. I'll give you one example. Say, for example, if a developer is planning to build a residential complex, right? And they're doing a feasibility study. There is no design in place. What they are doing a feasibility study and trying to understand what is the demography of that area, who will be the purchaser of the residential units, what is the income group. So they are doing the feasibility study of the demography, and and on the basis of their feasibility study, they are planning the combination of the type of residential units, like for the high income groups, for medium, how many for high income groups, how many for medium income groups. So this is what they are doing. The feasibility design is still is not in place, but they are coming up with different options in the planning phase to maximize the benefits of their investment. So that is value management, much before value engineering. Value engineering comes with design. When design is in place, you are doing something with design and technicalities. That is value engineering. Value engineering based on fitting line is value engineering cost by the contractor. Meanwhile, value engineering only contractor, only preparing. Mohammed Afspeak. Based on FIDIC 1999, value engineering preparing cost by contractor. Yes, understood. The cost of providing the proposal of value engineering is attributable to contractor. It has to be borne by contractor. Simple. In FIDIC, it is written. As a consultant, cost consultant, can you do feasibility study or need specific consultant required? Not required always. It depends on the competency of the consultant. But here in this part of the world, we have some specific feasibility consultants, those who work for the government agencies, right? So it's not like that.